There's one problem that quietly undermines the success of a lot of sports science labs, and it's not bad technology or poor data analysis. It's something much more basic, but also underlyingly much more dangerous to the success of the lab long term. It's practitioners collecting data who are never properly trained on how to run a test. Now, this is a pattern I've seen across a lot of high-performance environments. A lab is available. It has all of the expensive tech, like force plates, dynamometers, motion capture, IMUs, and very quickly the assumption becomes, oh, you live in the environment, therefore you can run the test. But in reality, small differences in testing setup and execution can dramatically change the testing results that are required. Foot position, warm-up instruction, the timing of cues, equipment calibration and baselining, athlete positioning. Now, none of these things seem super major, but together they determine whether your data is actually trustworthy. So in the real world, most labs try to solve this problem by creating standard operating procedures, which kind of are the starting point to solve this problem, but don't come to the root cause of what the problem is. Because a document can get written, a checklist can get created, and then the next assumption becomes, well, you can just read the document and then you can run the test. But testing is more than just going through a checklist. There's nuances in the setup, in the athlete instruction, in recognizing when a trial has been cheated or needs to be rerun. And those things can't be captured just on a sheet of paper. These nuances and their impacts can only be learned through repetition of the test. And we really don't want to be learning on the fly with our athletes. So the real solution is simple, although it's not always easy to implement. Practitioners need to go through specific clearance protocols for every test that they run. Before somebody is allowed to test athletes, they need to be formally signed off on to run that protocol. In the Olympic Training Center lab that I coordinated, we developed a structured progression for this clearance protocol. People needed to attend a tutorial to learn what the test was. They needed to observe experienced practitioners run the test. Then they ran the test under supervision. They demonstrated repeatable execution of the test, and then finally they were signed off on to run the test independently. So only after completing this process could somebody officially collect data with an athlete. And really, the reason behind all of this is simple. It's not bureaucratic. It's because testing data only matters if we trust it. If an athlete is tested today by me, and then comes back a month later and is tested by somebody else, we need to have confidence that the data is directly comparable. Otherwise, the numbers just become noise. High-performance sports science labs don't fail because they lack data. They fail because they lack the processes and structures that allow you to trust the quality of the data. And as a result, people don't trust the data, so people test less. And as a result, people don't trust the data, so they test less. Then less people are familiar with how the testing should be conducted, which then means there's a further drawback in use of the lab. Then all of a sudden you have a $100,000 lab sitting there that isn't really being used. So one of the most important systems that any sports science lab can build is a structured clearance process for the people that are collecting that data.